Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal Law number 86. The law of service. The law or science of service grows naturally out of the successful application of the sciences of the antakarana and meditation, and is the governing law of the future. With the linking of soul and personality, the light of the soul pours into the brain consciousness, resulting in the subordination of the lower to the higher. This identification produces a corresponding activity in the personal life, and the activity we call service. Therein lies the growth through the service of a race, and through a cultivated self-forgetfulness. Service is the true science of creation and is a scientific method of establishing continuity. This is also known as the law of water and of fishes. The symbol is a picture on the head of a man who stands in the form of a cross. This law is the governing factor of the age of Aquarius. The ray energy is outgoing energy of the sixth ray, vivifying factor. If the evasion of this law is a conscious action, there are karmic penalties. This work requires so much sacrifice of time and personal interest, requiring deliberate effort, conscious wisdom, and the ability to work without attachment.
So, I think what I find interesting about a lot of these laws is that they actually are never as I expected them to be before I start unpacking them. Don't know about you. But anyway, when it comes to the law of service, of course, unpack is the operative word here. And I think to understand this, we need to actually get a definition of the word Anta Karana, if that is the correct description or pronunciation. So I've put an image up here. This is the symbol of it, right? Because basically within the word Anta, it's got, well, it's two words put together apparently. Anta meaning inner and Karana meaning function. And if you look at this image here with the circle and the content on it, while that's the English translations, this is what we're talking about, with ego being, of course, the lowest levels of consciousness, the base consciousness. Sorry, just bear with me. And I'll just explain the definitions of what this symbol means, which is, of course, when we talk about the intellect, we're talking about the buddhi, the decision-making part of the mind, and this is the part that's able to discern truth from falsehood, and whereby we're able to become wise or grow wise or develop wisdom. The mind aspect is that lower rational, logical part that looks at what's going on within the physical world, our external world, and has control over our will or choices, if you like. So yeah, this is the seat of our desires, and it governs our sensory organs and our physical function. The memory aspect is our recollections. It's where the impressions are made, the memories, and it's where we store our experiences. So the memory part, of course, is about remembering and forgetting. So when we look at that, and then we look at what the point, if you like, of including this word in the law is, it's about applying this concept and philosophy that there is a oneness and we all have a capacity to discriminate. And when we talk about the word discrimination, of course, in modern society we tend to think like, oh my God, it's treating people mean. No, it's about establishing, I think a better word in modern society would be actually to discern what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and also to identify truth from fiction, because if I was to put it into perspective, when people develop their psychic gifts, or they're attempting to, if they haven't done that groundwork first, they can quickly fall into that delusional space and they're not able to tell, which this is the discrimination and the discernment bit, they're not able to separate guided, pure messages from the inner workings of their mind, which come from that ego space. So you may as well say mind chatter. So it becomes delusions and fabrications. It's not deliberate, but it happens. So we could say that the anta part of service is about understanding what is applicable, what isn't, what's truth, what's real, what's required, what's necessary, perhaps responsibility and integrity, understanding what is the correct way to act. Now, I'm concerned, I'm not concerned at all actually, because at the end of the day, when we talk about correct, we're talking about right way, right ways of behaviour. But in all honesty, when it comes to right and wrong, then we are at risk of falling into this whole judgmental approach of other people, if that's the pathway we go. So when we talk about right and wrong, it's about knowing what feels right and wrong to each of us as individuals. And that also is part of this anta stuff, and where we would use discernment, because a lot of the time people feel justified to do really horrible things because they think in their head that it's right, but actually they know in their heart that it's not right, or it's not a healthy, because there's going to be karma whatever actions we choose. So you want to be making wise choices, and for every action there is a reaction, and there will be a karmic consequence to it. So this is all part of recognizing too that what we do to others, we do to ourselves. So if we go out and we seek revenge or whatever, then that will invariably come back toward us, either in this lifetime or other ones. And what I've just described about our actions, our doing in the world, that fulfills the explanation of Karana, where we're talking about function, because our actions, if we're wise, we're going to be make sure that our actions are aligned with the higher powers. And what this law I see is basically saying is that we put our own personal base needs aside because we recognise that, well, exactly what I just said, what we do for one, we do for all of us. And when we help others, we invariably help ourselves too. So that doesn't mean to say that we, because intention's everything. You wouldn't sit out there and think, I'm going to go and give to all these people because I actually want to get brownie points or whatever. That would be questionable motives at best. So I hope I've made that clear. Now, when we refer to, or not we, when this law refers to the law of water and fishes, I actually interpret that as being related to Christ in the Bible, I think. I don't know about you guys, you might have a different impression, but look, I do recognise that certainly with the original authors of these, actually when I say the original ones, I mean the Western ones, that they have applied a Christian philosophy or outlook on the universal laws. Anyway, going back to this, the symbolism and imagery described in the law as well of the man with a picture on his head is a reference to the picture, as in a jug of water, being a container or vessel. And this is supposed to represent the soul of a man and where the soul is contained in the vessel. So I've written a whole heap of notes here that prompt me to discuss these things. So the idea is that the man stands in the form of a cross. Now, I understand that to be making a reference to a form of personal crucifixion, which doesn't necessarily mean being nailed to a cross, but that feeling of loss and that shedding of everything. It's about that sacrifice. And we did actually talk about this in one of the other laws. I can't remember which one it was offhand right now. But what I find really interesting is that they refer to this image as being the governing factor during the age of Aquarius. Now, what that means very loosely, and the fact that I find it interesting, is that in 2024 we're actually entering into the age of Aquarius, and these laws were written hundreds of years ago. Now the reason, well, originally the original ones were, when you go back to the Sanskrit stuff, what I find particularly interesting about this is as we go into the age of Aquarius and they're talking about this sense of loss and letting go, that crucifixion aspect and being able to bring the inner aspects into the earthly form. This is what I'm thinking it means. Is fascinating when you apply it to the numerology that I'm seeing for the millennials that come in. It's just, yes, because their birth charts, obviously, most of them are lacking the rational plane. They're all on the feelings plane because for the next 1,000 years, everybody's going to have a 2, and that's about emotion. So that's fascinating, I think. Now, the other thing too that I find fascinating, linking stuff together, is that they mention the 6th ray in this law. Now, of course, if you've been looking at the content I've been loading on angels, Archangel Uriel, he governs this specific ray, which is of peace, brotherhood, ministration, and service to humanity. And also, he oversees the function of the orange chakra. Anyway, going back to the law, this is a law of conscious actions and where there are karmic penalties. Where they say that fascinates me as well. And this, of course, ties in with what I'm talking about with the millennials and what we've got happening on a much wider social scale at the moment. And I think that includes this business of cancel culture, okay? Because this is really, from my perspective of being a bit of a people watcher, it is so interesting. I've questioned why these people, like before they were born, let's say in the early 2000s, I thought, I was under this misguided belief that the millennials were going to change the face of the world, so to speak, because they would come in to the world with this sense of love and expansiveness of vision and all the rest of it, which incidentally I do believe they have, but I also believe that they're egocentric, a lot of them, because they don't tend to rationalize. And when we talk about you must respect my rights, we used to talk about that when I was doing social work, was everybody thinks that they've got rights. Yes, we all do have basic and fundamental rights, but rights are always accompanied by responsibilities. If a person wants those rights, they have to carry and shoulder responsibility as well. So if a person, so let me put this into perspective. By rational, logical, whatever, if somebody treats you with decency, you would expect to be treated decently back. If somebody treats you badly, you would have, well, I wouldn't say no right. You would be very unwise to expect that somebody would treat you with greatness or goodness when you are totally disrespecting them and invalidating them. And this is what I actually see a lot of with some of the millennials. And this is not all, I want to be very clear here, not all of them, but there is a certain element of them who cannot see that they are being absolutely blatantly disrespectful to other people. And that's going to, just so you know, when I look at their charts, and I would advise you to look at the numerology birth charts at this point in time, because you'll see it more explicitly in there. When there are gaps on the birth chart, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And I didn't realize until more recently just how many lessons these young ones have got to live, or to live through and learn that life is not just about them. There is a whole concept of connection, interconnection, and this brother and sisterhood of humanity. But anyway, back to the law here. What we're talking about is that letting go and that shedding, that all this false belief, if you like, of whatever, and then I wouldn't like to say born again because that sounds like Christian, but to be renewed, perhaps like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And as we let go of all of that old stuff, this whole business of antakarana comes into play, where there is this yearning, burning desire to serve humanity, to serve the Creator, and to help other people rise above their problems. Anyway, this is my interpretation. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have got to say. Let me know, leave a comment. If you like what you're seeing, please remember to click the like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. Do you know what I mean? All right, I'll catch you later. Take care for now. Bye-bye.